003427 EC 13003401 KY City of Louisville 483 TN-C1520 TX-B13734 ACR-3492 36-month monitoring contract required. General terms and conditions apply. Visit protectyourhome.com/term.
Mobile's original and longest lasting sports station. Sports Radio 105.5 WNSP.
Conversation with our guest there about the latest from the Jameis Winston situation. Joe Tessitore joins us, the all-around play-by-play host and Heismanologist. Joe, good day. How are you?
Good, Paul. How are you?
Quite well. Appreciate. I saw your compatriot Matt Millen yesterday, and I asked him how he's survived you all these weeks. He took a swing.
Always good to be with Millen. Look forward to being with him tomorrow as we head to Knoxville for the state championship of college football, Andy in Tennessee.
Yeah, vested interest. I'm sure you're doing a sidebar on the divided Finebaum family. My wife, Vandy, and me, of course, Tennessee.
We could fit that in. I think we could dedicate the second quarter to that. That was good.
Yeah, really important.
Being from Memphis, of course, correct? By way of
yeah, right. But by the way, I realize I want to get to a Heisman update, but we just got through talking to Matt Baker, who broke the story about Winston today, and I realize that it's too early, but it's in a lot of speculation. But just without knowing what's going on here with another revelation, or at least clutter to the story, do you think it's going to affect at least the next go around on your Heisman update?
Yeah, this is probably a little different than what we were dealing with the investigation for the past 7 days. But I can tell you that when we finished up polling this morning, prior to this news breaking of the alleged victim and the attorney speaking out, that it was not having an impact. That it was Winston and Manziel on top of the polling, very close, 1-2, and then a big gap down to Bryce Petty and the rest. But I think, I think voters last week were at least saying, listen, I'm just concerned with what's going on the field. But as this story, as we dig deeper into everything and more information comes out, we will monitor that, see if voters react differently.
Let's talk about what the voters said leading up and through this morning before this revelation. What's happening?
Winston and Manziel are still running 1-2. They're appearing on every ballot. Bryce Petty now has firm control of third. And then you have really a group of also-rans that are just showing up with some third-place support. Marcus Mariota has taken the biggest fall, obviously, since the upset, and now he continues to fall. A.J. McCarron is not getting as much support as Bammers would appreciate. Jordan Lynch is showing up on a couple ballots, but once again, just third-place support. And then the lone running back, BC's Andre Williams, who could be having himself a 2,000-yard season come this weekend, is just getting a smattering of third-place support. But it is Winston and Manziel out in front, Bryce Petty in third with a huge opportunity. And Bryce Petty has all the upside in front of him. And the thing with Winston, and just to get away from the investigation and the alleged victim for a moment and just really analyze it from a Heisman side on the field and how the schedule breaks. I feel as if Winston's scorecard is signed and is in the clubhouse, and that now this schedule will not serve him well at all. Playing overmatched opponents, and even a perceived overmatched opponent in the ACC title game. I feel as if Jameis
they still got to go to the swamp.
Done, and now he has to
that may seem like a joke, but what if the Gators pulled it off?
Games coming up,
that'd mess it up.
including the one against Missouri that will determine the SEC East on that side. And then, so he still has plenty of room to still start, but Petty has everything in front of him with the big matchup against Oklahoma State, the ability to leapfrog Ohio State, be number 3 in the BCS standings, and the ability to run the table. And Bryce Petty has huge upside here.
Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, he plays in the premier game of the day, but it's interesting that you mentioned McCarron. He's on the cover of Sports Illustrated, Now, Joe, when I was coming up, which was a few years ago, that used to really matter. It's like a big yawn now. But was it last weekend in Starkville that hurt him, or would he really never have a lot of momentum going anyway?
He definitely didn't have as much momentum as people wanted to feel that he had. Last week, a nondescript 20-7 win against a team that everybody thought they would manhandle. That doesn't help. Playing Chattanooga this week doesn't help. Now, the Iron Bowl will help. The Iron Bowl will help a lot. But when we say it will help a lot, I think we're talking about going from really probably you're not going to arrive in New York to you will arrive in New York, and you will be sitting in the front row. In terms of winning the whole thing, you need Manziel to flop. You need Winston, and I don't know if it's the off-the-field stuff or whether it's just these opponents that they'll be playing that they should manhandle, but you need Winston to coast in a little bit, to float down a little bit. And if Baylor catches a loss, that's really what will help McCarron the most, because Petty is collecting so many of these third positions on ballots that include the name Winston and Manziel that McCarron would like to inherit the support for Petty. So rooting against Baylor, if you're a fan of A.J. McCarron, you want to see A.J. McCarron rewarded, then you want to see Baylor catch a loss.
I can just imagine Catherine Webb sitting there Saturday night wearing a cowboy hat on.
Is that what you're imagining when you think of her?
Maybe nothing else. I don't know. But
oh my goodness,
but you're right. I think AJ. It's not. You don't have to stretch to get him to New York, because Manziel has two very difficult games, and Petty is on a big stage.
Yeah, Petty and Manziel have difficult games, and that gives the opportunity for them to stumble. But it also gives the opportunity for them to fly even higher.
Yeah.
That's the challenge for McCarron.
You were in Columbia, South Carolina last Saturday night, and earlier in Missouri, and saw quite a game. Talk about being around the Florida program, around Will Muschamp, and what takeaway you went with as you headed north.
Listen, it's not easy when you sit on Friday afternoon and spend private time with a coaching staff, with guys thinking about their future, thinking about the pressures. A team that's lost 5 straight now, but at the time you're sitting with them coming off the difficult week of having lost to Vandy and knowing what they're stepping into at South Carolina. So we met with Brett Pease, our offensive coordinator, DJ Durkin, and I will say this.
Gators.
They haven't lost the kids, and the locker room is still focused, and the team is still playing hard, and you always worry about that when you catch a bad losing streak with a power program that has high standards and expectations. They're not mailing it in. Yes, they've lost 5 straight, but he still has that team. I think that's a real.
They're not mailing it in like Auburn did with Gene Chiswick last year.
In all actuality, in that 1914 loss where South Carolina needed to take the lead late, I actually thought that Muschamp and both coordinators may have done their best coaching job of the year, knowing how limited they were at quarterback with Skylar Morningway, to run the ball and find so many creative ways to run the ball and find productivity on offense, and then to really corral South Carolina's offense. I thought they coached well, and I thought the kids played really hard.
Yeah, no, I did too. Do you? Not to jump ahead to FSU, but that game is at home. You had a good look at this team. You're boxing. You do boxing a lot. Any puncher's chance?
Puncher's chance usually happens because of offense in college football. It usually happens because when you got the ball, you got a Johnny Manziel type. You got a guy that can beat you just because the ball's in his hands. That is not how they're made up. That is not what they are. And I do not think it is it's plausible to believe in any way that they can match points with Florida State. I just don't see that happen.
I meant to ask you about the Pac-Out fight Saturday, but I just threw your curveball.
Brandon Rios in an upset.
Really? Okay.
Yes. Early. Yes.
That might be the best thing you've given us in a while. I actually
had lunch with Brandon at my family's restaurant about 2 months ago, and I'm a little crazy, so I bring my dainty little daughter and wife and my prep school son and have them have lunch with him at. with absolute madman knockout artist, straight ahead boxer. And I left there and I said, Brandon Rios is crazy enough and fearless enough to believe that he can knock Manny Pacquiao out. And anytime you can say that, where you look in a guy's eyes, you say he doesn't care. He does not care if he has to walk through hell and take punishment to get the job done. That's a dangerous fighter. And Pacquiao coming off of the loss to Marquez last year, and you question where he is mentally. I think Rios will come out in the first 4 rounds and may test him really, really hard and get the job done.
See? We give you everything on this show. We're the leading boxing announcers in the country. Joe, thanks so much for the time.
Paul, as always, I enjoy my time with you. Have a great afternoon.
We will. Talk soon.
Call Finebaum now. 855-242-7285. That's 855-242-PAUL. This is the Paul Finebaum Show. Do you owe the IRS?
So, to recap, basically what they said was, as soon as Finebaum came on, he said that he had breaking news, that there was a newspaper article written in Tampa this morning that had like breaking new story on Jameis Winston that will affect him tremendously. Now listen to the whole show, part 1 and part 2 so far, and now he's going to take calls. And I just don't really understand what the news is, because we've already heard that he was already in alleged for this crime or whatever, but maybe it'll affect Winston, who knows. Back at the office.